Stop sitting down after you eat. It's the single worst thing you can do to your blood sugar, and almost everyone does it without thinking twice. The truth is, your body decides within 30 to 90 minutes of your last bite whether that meal gets stored as fat or burned off as energy. And there are 5 simple movements that you can do in that window that tip the decision towards burning the fat, with the strongest one cutting your blood sugar spike by more than half. So in this video, I'm going to show you all 5 movements, ranked from good to great, how to do each one in a matter of minutes, and the mistakes almost everyone makes, including one that cancels out the number 1 movement entirely. So let's go to number 5. So to start, I want to give you the movement that pulls sugar out of your bloodstream without taking a single step. And it's called an isometric hold. That means you get into a position and hold it there instead of repeating a movement over and over. The most common one is a wall sit. Sitting against the wall like you're in a chair, just using the wall to hold you up. When researchers put that up against simply sitting in a real chair like the couch after a meal, especially a high carbohydrate one, the wall sit brought blood sugar down by 17%. And the reason this works comes down to where the sugar from your meal ends up. It goes into the blood first, and from there it's supposed to move into your muscles where your body burns it off. However, the only way in is if insulin unlocks the muscles and lets it through. And after 50, that unlocking stops working the way that it should. So a lot of that sugar never makes it into the muscles. It stays stuck in your blood, and then your body ends up storing it as fat instead. But you can unlock that muscle yourself just by putting it to work. And an isometric hold keeps it working the whole time you're in that position, pulling sugar from your blood. In fact, if you do it in the first 30 to 60 minutes after a meal, researchers found that holds could pull sugar out faster than moving exercise did. The easiest one to start with is the wall sit. Put your back flat against the wall and then walk your feet down in front of you. Slide down until your knees are bent to about 90 degrees. Keep your back pressed flat, your weight on your heels, and your knees stacked over your ankles so they're not caving inward. Now, you'll make you shake a little bit and you will be challenged. And if you need something to hold on to, put a chair or something sturdy in front of you, but hold it for 20 to 30 seconds and then stand up and shake it out. Most people turn it into a contest, a family contest. Try to hold it as long as they can. Maybe compete against yourself. 3 or 4 short rounds spread across the hour after you eat will do far more for your blood sugar than 1 long hold ever will. So rest a minute in between each one and then go again. One rule that you can't break here, and this matters most if you already are dealing with high blood pressure, never hold your breath. Breathe steady the whole way through, because holding your breath drives your blood pressure up sharply without adding a single benefit. But in fact, if you can breathe during this exercise, this is actually a way to improve your blood pressure at the same time. And now if your knees aren't up for a wall sit, you've got 2 other ways to get the same effect. The first is a glute bridge hold. You lie on your back with your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor, press your heels and your feet down, and then lift your hips off the floor so your body is in a straight line while laying on your back and your feet are flat on the floor. So the hips are in a straight line with the shoulders down to your knees. Hold that for 20 to 30 seconds, breathing slowly. The second one you could do is sitting right where you are. Grab a hand gripper or just roll up a hand towel or maybe a squeeze ball. Squeeze it about 1/3 of your full strength for 1 to 2 minutes on each hand. Anyone can do this. Squeezing like that has been shown to bring blood sugar down in adults over 50. It won't pull as much because you're just using the muscles of your arms, not as much as a wall sit would or the bridge does. The hands are just smaller muscles, but it's still real. And it's the one that you can do without moving anything below the waist. Also, that grip squeeze happens to be the most studied way there is to bring blood pressure down without medication, with some research showing it could work as well as regular aerobic exercise. So on the days when your knees are barking at you, that towel is going to do double duty. Now that's number 5. If we go to number 4, it drops your blood pressure twice as far as this one and is even easier. And the movement sitting at number 1 cuts your spike by 52% from a chair without even standing up. But let's go to number 4 first. Number 4 takes so little effort that most people assume it can't possibly be doing anything. All you do is stand up. In a study on women past menopause, standing up for 5 minutes every half hour cut the rise in blood sugar levels after a meal by 34%. That's double what the wall sit did, and it couldn't be easier. It works because your legs are still doing the job when you're upright. They're holding you there against gravity, and that's enough to unlock them and let the sugar start moving in. Now, the part that surprises people is what actually drives the result. It's not how long you stand, it's how often you get up. Standing for 5 minutes every 30 minutes beats standing for one long stretch in trials after trial. And when researchers tightened it further, 2 minutes every 20 minutes, the numbers got even better. So the target is short and frequent. Get up about 15 minutes after your last bite, stay up for 2 to 5 minutes, sit back down, and then repeat it for the next hour or two. Set a timer on your phone if you need to, because it only works when it's repeated. Now, there's something about standing that makes it especially worth your time if you're over the age of 50. In younger, healthier people, the effect is weak and sometimes doesn't show up at all. But in older adults, and in people whose insulin has already stopped working the way that it should, standing shows some of its strongest results. Researchers think it's because when your body is having that much trouble handling sugar, even a small amount of muscle activity gives it more help than it would give someone whose system is already running just fine. So this is one of the rare things in health where older works in your favor. Now, the easiest way to make this happen is to attach it to what you're already doing after you eat. Get up and clear the table instead of leaving the dishes for later. Drink your coffee standing at the counter rather than carrying it to the couch. And when you do sit down after dinner, stand back up during the commercial break and then sit down again when the show comes back on. That gets you 3 or 4 standing breaks inside that 30 to 90 minute window without carving out a single extra minute. And the payoff from those breaks lasts a lot longer than you think. When people did this after their meals, their blood sugar was still running about 19% lower the following day. So standing after lunch today is still working for you at lunch tomorrow. Number 3 is the one most people over 50 have already decided they can't do. And it happens to be the biggest drop in blood sugar you can get in 3 minutes. I'm talking about squats. Researchers had people with type 2 diabetes do 3 minutes of simple, resistant moves like squats after eating, and it cut their blood sugar spike from that meal by 39%. It also cut their insulin spike by 37%, which is a big deal because insulin is the hormone that decides whether you store or burn fat. And squats hit that hard because of how much muscle they recruit. Your thighs and your glutes are the 2 biggest muscle groups in your entire body, and a squat fires both of them at the same time. So you're opening the largest sugar destination in your body right when the sugar from your meal is flooding in. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking because I hear it constantly: squats are bad for your knees. But that's an old myth, and the research says the opposite. Properly done, squats strengthen the knee joints and the muscles supporting it. Your knees are car parts that wear out the more that you use them. They're living tissue, and they get stronger when you ask something of them. So here's how to do the squats after a meal in a way that protects your knees. Start with 30 minutes after your last bite. While your blood sugar is still climbing, stand with your feet shoulder width apart, toes turned slightly outward, push your hips back first, like you're reaching for a chair behind you. That one cue does the most for your knees because it keeps them from sliding out past your toes. Let your knees bend as you lower, tracking in line with your toes so they aren't caving inward. Keep your weight across your whole feet and go down as far as feels comfortable. You don't need your thighs parallel to the floor to get blood sugar benefit. Then drive back up through your heels, slow and controlled. Keep going for 3 minutes and repeat that every 30 to 45 minutes for as long as you're sitting afterwards. But just even one session can get you the results. If your balance isn't what it used to be, put a real chair behind you, okay, in case you slip backwards. Sit down at the edge of it, stand all the way back up, and then lower yourself back down again under control. So you've got that support. That version does the same job. Finally, there's one more thing that you can do to get even more of the results. Slow down. Take 2 to 3 seconds to lower yourself. That produces a bigger effect on your blood sugar more than fast, jerky reps do. You want your muscles under tension longer, not moving faster. Number 2 is one that you've heard 1,000 times. So let me give you the part nobody ever tells you. Going for a walk after you eat cuts your blood sugar spike roughly in half. But that only holds if you do it at the right moment, and most people miss it by an hour. A researcher in Japan put this to the test. He had one group go for a walk for 30 minutes as soon as they finished eating, and yet another group walked for the same 30 minutes, but they waited an hour before heading out. Nobody changed their food, and both groups covered the same ground. Over a single month, the group that walked right away lost between 3 and 6.5 pounds. The group that walked an hour after eating lost essentially nothing. That's because your blood sugar starts climbing about 15 minutes after your last bite, and most of that sugar floods your bloodstream in a half hour that follows that. Now, there's a second thing about walking that flips what most people believe about the exercise. Researchers took adults over 60 whose blood sugar had already crept into pre-diabetic range. One group took a single 45-minute walk in the morning. The other group took 3 15-minute walks, one after each meal. Same number of minutes on their feet either way. And the group who split it up dramatically improved their blood sugar control, especially after dinner. So 3 short walks placed right after your meals will do more for you than 1 long walk done whenever you can fit it in. Now, I still like you fitting it in, but if you want to be even more effective, spread it out right after meals. Now, here's how to walk after a meal to pull the most sugar out of your body. Start within 15 to 30 minutes of your last bite while your blood sugar is on the way up. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes. Keep the pace conversational, meaning you can talk the whole time without running out of breath. Do it after 3 meals, if that's what you're eating, if you can. And if you only manage 1 walk, make it after your largest meal of the day. Should be lunch, ideally, but for a lot of people, it's unfortunately dinner, which means all of that sugar surge is happening even later in the day, which works against fat loss goals. As far as how long, 10 minutes at that pace brings your blood sugar down by 22%. Stretching it to 15 or 20 minutes takes it down by as much as 30%. However, if you can't manage that, even 2 to 5 minutes does real work. And you don't need to push the pace at all. The gold standard study used 3 miles an hour, which the researchers themselves called casual. One trial had people moving faster than a mile an hour, about the speed of puttering around your kitchen, and it still knocked the spike down. So even just walking the hallway still counts, which brings us to number 1. And it's the only movement on the list that nobody around you would even notice you doing. There's a muscle buried in your lower leg that most people have never heard of. It sits underneath the calf muscle. You can actually see it in the mirror, and it's called the soleus. Researchers at the University of Houston had people activate it while they were sitting down after a meal. It cut their blood sugar spike by 52%. And it cut the insulin in their body and what the body needed to handle that meal by 60%. That's roughly 50 points lower blood sugar during the hour or 2 after eating from a movement you can do in a chair. Now, everything I've told you so far says bigger muscles pull more sugar out of the blood, but the soleus breaks that rule completely. It makes up about 1% of your body weight, and it can rival the sugar clearing power of every other muscle in your body combined during a normal day. The reason comes down to what it's made of. Almost 90% of the soleus is built from the kind of muscle fiber designed to work for hours without ever getting tired. That's the muscle that holds you upright all day long, so it never taps out the way your thighs do. And when researchers took actual samples of the muscle during the study, they confirmed something remarkable. Your other muscles burn through their own stored fuel first before they reach into your bloodstream, but the soleus skips that step and pulls sugar and fat straight out of your blood from the very beginning. So here's exactly how to do it. Sit in any chair with your feet flat on the floor and keep your knees bent to 90 degrees. Keep the front of your foot and your toes planted on the ground the entire time. They never lift. Slowly raise your heel as high as it comfortably goes. At the top, let it drop back down on its own, like you're releasing a hinge. Keep pumping in a slow, steady rhythm. Are you doing it? About a second up and a second down. Start pumping as soon as you sit down after your meal and keep going for at least 10 minutes. After that, do another 10 minutes anytime you find yourself sitting for a while, because the longer you keep it up, the lower your blood sugar goes. Now, 2 mistakes will cancel this out entirely, so watch out for these. The first is letting the front of your foot come off the ground and pushing off the ball of your foot. That turns it into a standing calf raise, which works the calf muscle on the top instead of the soleus underneath, and then you lose the effect. The second is forcing your heel back down. That drop has to happen on its own because letting it fall is what keeps the soleus doing the work. Get those 2 things right, and you've turned the chair into a fat-burning tool. So maybe I owe you an apology for telling you to stop sitting after you eat, because it turns out sitting down might be the smartest thing that you can do as long as you're pumping those heels. Now, moving after your meals is one decision you can make in a day, but there are about a dozen more, and every one of them tips your body towards burning fat or storing it. Most people get the majority of them wrong, and they never find out because each one feels completely harmless in the moment. So you can do everything I showed you today perfectly after every single meal and still undo all of it with a handful of choices that you're not even thinking about. That's why in my other video, I walk you through the exact daily routine I'd follow to lose weight as fast as possible and the timing that makes each one of these actually work. There's one that happens before your feet even hit the floor in the morning, and another at the end of the night that researchers found nearly doubles your fat loss on its own. I will include a link to that here next. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.